SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Engineering, Medical and Health Sciences, Management, Dental, Science and Humanities, Law, Agriculture Sciences, Hotel Management. Admissions open.
When you live in a fast-moving, ever-changing world, life brings forth unlimited possibilities. Yours to explore, excite, enjoy, educate, evaluate, and elucidate with Elan. Never stop moving forward with Darwin Platform Group. Darwin Platform Group, the visionaries.
Thyrocare, the trust, the truth.
Our next panel discussion on 5G use cases, demystifying reality and hype. While we've gone through a crisis, it was high-speed internet connectivity that made life simpler. But there is a bigger opportunity in the not too distant future. 5G services have already been rolled out in over 50 countries. 5G use cases, demystifying reality and hype, looks at how the high-speed, low-latency tech can have applications across different sectors. What are the global examples of successful use cases in consumer and industrial spaces? We have with us a very high-profile panel to discuss this issue, led by Dr. P.D. Waghela, Chairman of the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, Mr. Akhil Gupta, Vice Chairman, Bharti Enterprises, Mr. Shyam Mardekar, President, Reliance Jio, and Mr. Prashant Singhal, Emerging Markets TMT Sector Leader, EY. And this conversation is moderated by my colleague, Mr. Rajiv Dubey, Editor of Business Today and Managing Editor, Business and TV Today Network.
Welcome to the Business Today Mindrush panel discussion on the reality and hype around 5G. We have a power-packed panel to discuss this very hot subject in telecom right now. Welcome to all of you, gentlemen. The way we've thought of this is to request Mr. Waghela to set the stage for the discussion and essentially give us a sense of where 5G is headed as far as the government is concerned, demystify it a bit for us, and also give us some idea of the use cases. When do we expect 5G coming from the government's point of view? So over to you, Mr. Waghela.
So thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone. 5G opens up endless probabilities, possibilities and opportunities to utilize IoT and M2M based applications with high speed and low latency. And the beauty of 5G technology lies in the fact that the same network will be able to deliver the three distinct categories of use cases simultaneously. And these three categories are, the first is enhanced mobile broadband, providing very high speed broadband on cellular network with data rates into gigabit per second. Second is massive machine type communications, providing connectivity to IoT devices and machines on a large scale with connection density of 1 million devices per square kilometer, and ultra reliable low latency. It's called URLLC, and also ultra reliable low latency communication for critical applications with latency of 1 millisecond. These three distinct performances through a single network are possible in 5G because of, again, technological development. Coming to agriculture, I think most important 5G use case is precision farming, which is a technology-enabled approach to farming management and that observes, measures, and analyzes the needs of individual fields and crops. It is already being done in many countries, and there are technology provider companies supplying precision farming hardware and software. Besides, the other use cases are soil and crop monitoring, smart irrigation, and climate alignment. Livestock itself is a huge use cases, livestock monitoring and agriculture drones, another very important technology which can be used for agriculture. In the healthcare, wearable devices, secure online consultation, remote medical procedures like robotic surgery are some of the use cases which have been implemented. 5G and industrial Internet of Things are enabling factories to seamlessly create a network of wirelessly connected machines and people that connect, collect, analyze, and distribute real-time data. The new technology provides more information to give a bigger picture, allowing for simultaneous product customization and maximum production output. while offering increased flexibility, traceability, sustainability, and safety. And there are numerous other 5G cases in the field of online education and learning, in the field of energy and grid power, autonomous vehicles, smart cities, gaming and sports, intelligent transport systems, and many more. I will not say, but I would conclude, as far as use cases is concerned, I would conclude with a request to the industry and policy makers or specific sectors that the need is to engage with solution providers, startup companies, and the sector users to deliberate upon the customized use cases specific to India and develop and implement the same on large scale. As I can understand, beside high-speed broadband use, the most important use cases in India may be in the field of Industry 4.0, that is industrial automation, healthcare, and utilities. Because this is very important. It is immediate results are found, the cost goes down, the wastage goes down, and the overall profitability of this sector will improve.
So the government is now set for setting the stage. Government is planning to roll out the 5G network. But are the telecom operators prepared for it? So let's have the views from Mr. Gupta and Mr. Madikar, followed by Prashant. Mr. Gupta?
I think 5G will necessarily need lot of optic fiber deployment. And when I say optic fiber deployment, I'm not talking of NLD, that's in plenty, but connecting the telecom towers to the optic fiber network, I think that is going to become a very serious impediment if that is not tackled very quickly. The second piece will be within the cities fiberization, because the densification of the network required will be so large that there will be no space on those small cells for putting microwaves. Therefore, the only option will be to connect them on fiber. Now, the third area, which obviously is the biggest problem in implementation of 5G in India, is the cost factor. Now, we mentioned about Open RAN. I think the network cost will definitely come under control, and to some extent, I would say being a second mover is a little bit of an advantage because many of those earlier problems have already been settled. So network cost is not a very serious problem because part of it will be just a replacement of what you would have otherwise spent on 4G. So that's not the worry. My biggest worry and my biggest question to you, Mr. Waghela, is our national digital communication policy very clearly in bold letters in the opening paragraph mentions that the government of India's aim is not revenue maximization from telecom, but the main aim is deep penetration of broadband in India. And that is, I think, a bedrock of the policy. And my question to you, sir, is why is the spectrum pricing on the reserve price being kept so high? Keep it to the minimum. After all, you are going to auction it. If there's more demand, obviously the prices will go up, so nobody is worried. But why keep the reserve price so high? Because that is the biggest impediment, sir. I'm sure you are aware of it. The biggest impediment for the operators will be the spectrum cost. And that is something, sir, we all would need to work together.
Now, if you just look at the fundamental differences between the technologies in the mobile arena so far versus 5G, I think 2-3 things come to fore from the start. First of all is, unlike technology still 4G, where the connectivity portion was the only extension of operators offering to the customer, 5G actually takes slightly more than connectivity, and I call it the holy trinity of communication. It is connectivity, compute, and storage. And all three of them now go hand in hand when we extend 5G. So we now, as operators, will not only be extending connectivity per se, but we will also be enabling the customers, the devices. Dr. Waghela talked about Industry 4.0, Akhil talked about FWA. Now all of them will have a necessary fraction of compute as well as storage, which means that the technology will get more complex from an infrastructure perspective. And if you look at then this infrastructure, the classical GSM 3G 4G way of putting a tower and putting a radio on the tower and connect it with ideally fiber or microwave will now move to a very hyper distributed manner because of the latency requirement, because of the high bandwidth requirement, which means that the street furniture, as the telecom world calls it, will need to be enabled for the radios. Low power radios, but a lot of radios. And how do we enable this? And the moment you put a smaller radio on a rooftop or on a small shop or a street pole or a street light, you will need to connect it. You will need to power it. And this is where I think India, compared to other countries, faces the maximum challenge. And spectrum obviously is one of the big challenges. Akhil very clearly alluded to it. But the other big challenge is our accessibility and ability to seamlessly deploy infrastructure support. The biggest success of 5G will be its ability to densify itself as the network layer closest to the customer. And that will only come if the network infrastructure gets enabled and if there is right sort of intervention for us operators to go ahead and deploy it without getting into all sorts of 20 permissions to get a right of way or 20 permissions to put a small radio head on top of a street pole or something like that.
I think a lot has been talked about the challenges, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's spectrum pricing. I think we may want to relook at and think about how can this be speeded up, right? How can we quickly go and launch 5G? I'm sure Indians are very smart. The use cases will evolve. New ways of making revenues will come in. Adaptation to use cases will come in. And like the digital communication policy talks about, the objective was to make India a hub of export and innovation. Now, 5G actually offers that, and a faster adaptation to 5G will help us to actually create that hub where we could be innovating some use cases, like we talked about, healthcare, education, and which are more to cater to a larger population, rural population, and those use cases then can go to the rest of the world. I think that's the kind of opportunity that 5G offers to this country, apart from ensuring that we get mobile broadband in its true form and sense, as well as gaming and all of that. The important thing is, I think both Akhil and Shyam touched upon it, spectrum, the pricing is very high. I mean, one of the questions really is that why can't we go back to the old regime of administrative spectrum on 5G? I mean, Japan has done it, China has done it, right? So why can't we do that? Why can't we look at going back if the objective of the government is that 5G should get started very quickly? What is the point of having a reserve price and then going in for auctions? In fact, that money which is there for reserve price and auctions can be then utilized with rollout obligations so that 5G reaches the rural world in India, which is where a large part of our population is and which requires a faster economic development. By getting 5G there faster and getting the operator community to invest there, I think we could do that.
The next question that arises is, we are going ahead with 5G, but what about the equipment? Where will the equipment come from, especially with the government taking a stance against the Chinese equipment? So what does this mean for the 5G network rollout if we are going to not have the Chinese equipment? Mr. Gupta, would you like to start on that?
Well, I think that's not a real problem, because if Chinese are not there, the Open RAN system along with the other equipment manufacturers will take care of that. I don't think.
But does it raise cost very dramatically for operators?
I don't think so. It's a very competitive world. The cost will be okay. So that's not the real problem. Fortunately, we are not the first ones to be taking it. The system on the equipment is pretty much settled. So I wouldn't say that's a major issue. By the time India starts rolling out with our kind of volumes, that pricing will be fine.
One thing which I can highlight very clearly is, as at Jio, even on our 4G network, we do not have a shred of Chinese equipment on us. So the point that a network can be created of this scale and this size, and I can assure you that we bought all of this at very competitive prices. So with this, it is very easy. It is not difficult to kind of avoid a particular region for whatever reasons, right or wrong. But it is doable. Second thing again, and Akhilji did allude to this. The point is the networks are becoming programmable big time, and you also spoke about Dr. Vaghela, ORAN, and things like that. See, one of the biggest things that has happened over the last 3-4 years is the ability of software to create a particular product has increased manifold, which means that the embeddedness and the complexity of a appliance-based equipment equipment which kind of had a very big entry barrier towards one or two or only three companies being able to produce that has broken big time. So ORAN is just an architecture, or programmability is just a concept, but the outcome is now you can have the equipment in some shape and form getting distributed and getting produced by a larger number of agencies at much lesser and much more competitive costs. In fact, like we are also trying to do something on this whole programmable network side. So if you pull all of these together, I think the availability and the cost and the accessibility of the equipment will not at all be a showstopper or in the critical path of deploying 5G.
You know, one of the big expectations of 5G is that it will possibly herald the revival of the sector. What does this mean for the health of the sector?
See, I think it is definitely going to reach out in a bigger way and beyond from the classical way telecom operators are operating. The kind of enterprise-wide collaboration, joint initiatives, and Industry 4.0 is a very real and classical example. I mean, imagine the joint effort an automobile industry or a hospital for that matter, or an educational institution for that matter will do to get themselves turned into a totally digital enterprise. And that is the call of the day. And now this is not a regular kind of change or a regular evolution. This is a more fundamental change, and that's why this 4.0 word has been attributed. I mean, they will all start working in a way they never worked before, which not only will involve change in the cost models, changing the architecture, changing the organization. And this participation will not only be very fulfilling from a telco's perspective, not only from a revenue and the accessibility of new business perspective, but also their ability to contribute into a bigger gamut of the economical ecosystem cross industry.
Mr. Gupta?
Well, I have a slightly different view on this. My feeling is while 5G is necessary, it will usher in many more services. I don't think there's any need to glorify it to an extent as to say that this is the savior of the telecom sector. I mean, this is an evolution of telecom networks. We have gone from 2G to 3G to 3.5G to 3.75 GPRS, then Edge, then to 4G. Not that they saved the sector completely and made it the most robust sector. In fact, unfortunately, with every evolution, this sector got into a weaker financial position. Therefore, to imagine that 5G will come and all the financial woes of the sector can go away will be a complete folly in terms of thinking. It's not going to solve financial problems, but yeah, this is a natural evolution. We have to go there, and therefore we have to ensure that the basic problem of financial stability of the sector in terms of, and one reason only, and that is the tariffs. I think we need to address that.
Prashant?
Yeah, so I mean, I tend to agree with what Akhil is saying, that 5G will not solve the problem for the sector. But what 5G would do, and picking up on what Shan said, right? I mean, what 4G has done, if you just look at it, 4G has not solved the problem for the sector, but 4G has helped contributing more to the economy and the development of the economy, financial economy of the country, right? Where we talked about all the unicorns which have come in the last 1 or 2 years. Had we not had 4G, the unicorns wouldn't have been there, right? So the sector's health has worsened by every G that we have moved to 3G, 4G, and with 5G, hopefully the sector health could improve. But if we could look at mechanisms of which the sector gets a payback for the economic contribution which is being done with every technology evolution, I think then it can help solve the sector's problem, which means that if the levies which are there on the sector, and we talked about spectrum, but with the AGR or GST, those levies which are there on the sector, if they get rationalized with every evolution, and obviously it also opens an opportunity for the telecom companies to adapt and offer a larger ecosystem of services, but that's their choice. But as a telecom sector, I think the rationalization of some of the levies because of the larger contribution, that will really contribute.
One segment of the sector for which this could be really beneficial is the equipment providers, provided they are able to stand up to the quality required, the new technologies required, which is the equipment. So does it have the potential? Does it have possibilities of unleashing a completely new revolution in the equipment, new IP creation, new R&D, new creation of make in India products? Is that a possibility as it is being expected? Mr. Madhikar, since your company is also going to be developing equipment, shall we start with you?
Yeah, sure. See, I think one socio-political change that has happened over the last 2 years is this whole China story. And which means that the epicenter of manufacturing now needs to find a new locus standi. And obviously, I mean, India can claim to be one of the best suited geographies, both from a location perspective, manpower perspective, cost of perspective, and all of that. And if that epicenter changes, I think it would do us really, really good to grab this ball, which is right now up in the air in absence of people trying to take and fetch things from China. So this is definitely a very, very clear tailwind which we have.
Shant, what does this mean for indigenous technologies and indigenous equipment?
Clearly, this gives us a big and a huge opportunity. Whether it's looking at software developing use cases which could then be institutionalized and globalized. I think we did talk about the PLI or the manufacturing in India, and that's not only for the domestic consumption but also for exports. The handsets, as we all know, the PLI scheme has already come in, or the devices, and that's seen a huge amount of an uptake. And 5G could only put more fire in the fuel, right? It could, or fuel in the fire, and it just could spring this up. And I think I just want to put one more perspective here that when we move from 3G to 4G, and I'm maybe coming back, the digital services that India has latched on to, and the innovation that India has seen on the various digital services, right? We were slightly behind some of the Western markets, but now today we see the innovation that India has done is unbelievable, and is being talked about in various markets, various geographies, that how India has adapted and spearheaded the entire digital services play. Anything and everything today is available digitally, and there's a platform for it. There's a mechanism to provide that services, and everything is digitized. So 5G could offer that, and clearly could offer that, and that would be even at a much larger scale.
Totally agree with Shyam that there's a massive scope after the whole China situation for India to become the hub. There will be Indian manufacturers, there will be global manufacturers who will produce in India. But more important is there should be production in India. There will be market all over the world, but it will be wonderful that there is also Indian market added to that so that there are more volumes. I think the key still remains, we have to make sure that the Indian operators are given as the platform where they can start 5G very quickly without being able to dent their financial.
Okay, so Dr. Vaghela, your closing point.
Now, yes, we have recommended, and if you see our recommendation, we are very clear that we cannot give inadequate spectrum to the telecom sector. That will be detrimental to the sector, and it makes them dependable on the government. They will be begging to the government to give more spectrum. It's not good. Secondly, it doesn't help them in taking investment decisions also. Third, when demand increases all of a sudden, as Shyam told, you're shocked. You don't have the capacity to handle the spectrum. So we are very, very clear. We have told that there should be an audit, and we should check whether the Department of Space or any other organization which is holding on this spectrum, and if they can give it up, and they can be adjusted in some other spectrum, and it is possible all over the world. There have been decisions, and this spectrum has been given exclusively to the industry. Now, coming to this pricing, so many times in the life of a nation, we have to live with the legacy also. There is something called legacy. Pricing, naturally, in the beginning, it was being allotted on administrative basis. We know what happened in 2G. We know then what were the ramifications, and how even the prices which were given by TRAI, it was 10 times which when it went for auction. I don't know why it was given 10 times, but it was, the actual realization was 10 times the, base price. And then, then again, when it came again to the TRAI has, it's not that TRAI has kept the highest price, no. In, spectrum, they have taken the base price of other spectrum, and then they have tried to arrive at a spectrum pricing. We have been told that it's very high. I don't know, because, the best taste in, the pudding is in eating. I think let us go to the, auction. We'll see what can be done. One more thing, which I agree with you people is that, this auction should be very regular. You should have at least 10 years, 20 years, a kind of a perspective plan. So the stakeholder, they know what is going to happen. They can take on investment decisions. The spectrum should be allotted and assigned for a particular, use. Though either they're technologically neutral, but something, which spectrum will be used by the government agencies and other agencies, and which spectrum will be available to trade. It should be, long-term thing. Should be, quite transparent. We should be very, very transparent. And this is what, we believe, and we have told the government also that if possible, why don't you carry out periodical regular auction? And we need not be worried. Sometimes if the auction fails, it fails. It happens. If you are opening a shop and you are sitting there, sometimes people may purchase, sometimes people may not purchase. It's okay. Huh? One important thing which you told is that street furniture. We are at present working on ROW, because that in city it has been mentioned. The present system is is not conducive at all. Getting the permission, application, then permission, the fees, and the time taken. This, I think this system needs to change. Even though, DOT has come out with rules under the law for ROW, I think, we need to change this. And even in IBS, that is requires that we require to transform that, and equal access to all the TSP or TSPs to a building, is what is required. Secondly, permissions, the person should not be, going to the RAW president again and again, requesting and begging, and then the permission is given. And there are a lot of other things, also there. So, I think, this requires to, we are working on this. We have issued a consultation paper, and it's time that for the All India thing, something needs to be done. Everything should be online. The Resident Owners Association, they should be giving permission online. Why the TSP or why anybody else should be able to, they'll be required to go to a president and request him, and then different kind of rates. Then again, building codes, that also we required. So, building code, if new town planning schemes, estate developer coming with new project, or even, a person going for high-rise building, I think, we need to have some sort of basic building codes. If you have building codes for earthquake and for the structure, and for the design in form of architecture, structural engineer, and engineers, why don't we have telecommunication engineer who will actually advise them to put up ducts and other facilities in the to the towns and cities, that they need to have common facilities, common duct facilities, and the developer, there are many developers who are going for personal facilities, but it should be a law, or it should be a rules. So I think we are working, we will be consulting you people. That is, but much more than that, I think, street furniture we need to immediately address. Because one thing which I learned from you people in the last 3 months is that in 5G, street furniture is going to be very, very important. And the three aspects in street furniture. One is, permission itself, and permission taking from the local authorities. Second is, from the citizens. There is a huge, misunderstanding about 5G and the health. Now, so many people, they are just not ready to allow their buildings to be used for the street furniture. So even if we can, if we can manage to handle the local bodies, what about the citizens? And we require to put, this kind of gadgets and this kind of small towers at every building, use thing. So that I think, we that one thing we need to work on that. And we have already written to Secretary Power. I have written to certain local authorities also. I want to prepare a model city, where how they will handle the existing structures, for taking the 5G and the fixed line? And what about the new things which are coming up? What should be the protocol? And that protocol should be part of the state laws and state laws and the central laws wherever. Even in the, for example, we have in defense estates. So defense estate also will be required to be told that भाई आप कुछ भी develop करो तो ये ध्यान रख लीजिए telecommunication. It is essential service and it's a basic infrastructure. So this is what we are also thinking of. कि भाई इसका कोई भी प्लान मंजूर होता है तो कोई टेलीकम्युनिकेशन इंजीनियर उसको अप्रूव करे, वो तो थोड़ा देखो. तो ये सब और these are the ideas. We have not fixed anything, but I think ये देखने की जरूरत है. So power is another thing, and power का खाली permission नहीं लेना है. Power just not giving permission, but required amount of power, and giving permission online. You are not required to fill up so many forms. This is very much important because you will require many connections. You will require many connections. In many cases, you will require to be put generator set also. So for that also, maybe in many state electricity laws, permissions are to be required. So I think this ease of doing business with regard to ROW, IBS, street furniture is the need of the hour, and we are going to work on it. Last, I wanted to make in India. Again, I think. This PLI is excellent PLI, and this government has come out with 9 types of PLI for 9 sectors. I was secretary pharmaceutical. Even I came out with 3 PLI schemes. My 2 PLI schemes are 100% oversubscribed. The new one is now had gone to cabinet, the 30,000 crores. So same thing in telecommunication. But here what I have seen, I don't know in telecommunication. Please correct me. The R&D, we are not strong in R&D. In pharmaceutical, we are 3rd largest in volume, but we are 14th in value. In telecommunication, if we start making in India, even foreigners comes, will they come out with the technology, and will they make that technology and the inventions patented in India? That way, India's value addition will be done. Otherwise, what can happen? They come here, they manufacture, they take their profit back there, and then again value addition doesn't help. So let us hope that with this PLI technology also comes. That is very important.
Dr. Vaghela, also give us a sense of the timelines. What kind of timelines should we expect for the rollout?
Oh, that government will decide.
When do trials stop?
See, one thing, we have recommended one to immediately allot spectrum, 5G spectrum for research and trial. So I think that I think government should be doing very soon. I know that there is something in the line, and I think that decision may be taken very fast.
Dr. Vaghela, can you also give us a clarity on the government stand on Chinese equipment, especially Huawei's own trials that are going on?
Yes, as TRAI authority, I don't think I can comment on what is government policy. But yeah, government has gone. I think they have already come out in public domain that there will be a list. I think negative list of the equipment, if I'm not wrong. So let us wait. There is a committee. They have formed a committee. So that committee should come out with that negative list at the earliest. What I don't know what they are going to do with the TSPs who are actually at present using those equipment. I think there should be some sort of transit time allowed and some sort of consideration of the cost and all that. I don't know. But I am not part of that, so I would not be able to comment on that.
Dr. Vaghela, that was a very, very comprehensive and phenomenal roundup of all our discussion this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thyrocare, the trust, the truth.